CM 365, all about Carnatic music.
In the lives of all great Vagekaras, we see that the divine initiation happens to them through the medium of some yogi or sannyasi or whatever. And in the case of the Trinity, we see classical examples of how they were all initiated into music in a very divine way. I'd also made a mention about one Chidambara Natha yogi who initiated Dikshitar into the deeper realms of music. So I'd like to share something more about him in the sense that how this yogi, we talk about him in the context of taking Dikshitar to Banaras and there he's getting influence through the Hindustani music and all. But what is more important is that the yogi imparted so much of knowledge to him, and that is all well reflected in the compositions of Dikshitar. Now, this Chidambaranatha yogi actually, who had heard earlier, he had initiated Muthuswami Dikshitar's father, Ramaswamy Dikshitar, into the Srividya cult, and he happened to actually go on a pilgrimage to Banaras. While on his way from the south, what happened is that he actually made a brief halt at Madras. And Ramaswamy Dikshitar actually was staying then at this Manali. So as a general tradition custom, he invited the Guru to his house for Bhiksha. And Chidambaranatha yogi came to his house. And here when this yogi came to the house, Muthuswami Dikshitar and his brother actually sang a few songs before him. So when Dikshitar actually sang, the yogi immediately obviously visualized the great eventful future that was ahead for Muthuswami Dikshitar. And so what he did was he requested Ramaswamy Dikshitar to allow Muthuswami Dikshitar to travel along with him to Kashi. Dikshitar, of course, Muthuswami Dikshitar was a small boy, so the father was obviously a bit reluctant initially in terms of sending the boy all the way to Kashi. At that time, you know that we did not have these kinds of mode of transports that we have today. So it was a fairly long journey, and the boy would be away from the house to quite a distance place as well. But finally, the father agreed, and this yogi actually took him to Kashi. In Kashi, the first thing, of course, we all know that Dikshitar was influenced by a large amount of Hindustani music that he heard there, the Drupad style especially, a very ancient musical form, it is the most classy kind of a form that is existent in the Hindustani music. So he came to hear a lot of it, that is one thing. But furthermore, what did the yogi do towards enriching his music and his compositions, that we have to understand. The yogi actually gave him the updates of the what he did was he gave an upadesa to him of the Shodashakshari mantra and trained him further in the tantric form of worship. We see all the tantric aspects being featured, or it is being as part of the Sahitya. You can see a lot of this tantric material being a core material of the Sahitya of Dikshitar's content. So for that we owe a lot to this Chidambaranatha yogi for imparting all this to him. And the next thing he did was we see that he propounded the yoga and Vedanta as propounded by Sri Adi Shankaracharya. All these Vedas and other things he imparted to him. And this is the reason we also find that in the compositions of Muthuswami Dikshitar, there is a perfect synthesis of different aspects of the spiritual aspects like the Veda, Purana, the Agama, Jyotisha, Yoga, Mantra, Tantra. All this find abundantly, as part of the Sahitya, are able to see in his compositions. This you cannot find in any other composer's composition. Here, in fact, they are so deeply layered that it is really very difficult for a common man to understand what he is trying to say, because these are all the highest religious aspects that he has tried to actually depict through his compositions. And as I mentioned earlier, also the Hindustani influence was also there. And we see that Hindustani influence here, I would also like to make a special mention that it's not only about the using of some of the Hindustani ragas in his compositions, but overall also generally we see how the style has been very much influenced. The entire style of Dikshitar itself has been influenced in many ways by Hindustani music, and the touches of that can be seen here and there in many compositions actually. For example, if you take ragas like Hamir Kalyani, then you take Yaman Kalyani. These are all obviously Hindustani ragas, then Jujavanti. But also it's important to see how in even ragas like Hindolam, the composition Neerajakshi, where you see that the beautiful jarus which are integral to Hindustani music have been well incorporated to make it have a different color and tinge. Even in the, I would say, as further to this, in the Kamalamba Navavarna, especially the Kalyani Navavarna that you see, Kamalamba Bajare, so many beautiful glides have been used. The jarus have been used very beautifully in this composition, and the gait of the composition, the movements of the composition all show that there is definitely a reflection of some of the Hindustani elements that he has imbibed. Now, coming back to this Chidambaranatha Yogi, we see that he then also told Dikshidhar that in general, after that to leave for his hometown, and Chidambaranatha Yogi also said that offering worship to goddess Annapurneswari was very important, and this advice he gave him to Dikshidhar. The yogi told him that Annapurneswari would not only grant him his desires in life, but moksha thereafter, and that he should worship her all his life. And finally also instructed him to visit Tirutani, one of the 6 abodes of Lord Muruga, we know that. So this yogi advised Dikshidhar to visit Tirutani. And after this, what we see is that a miracle actually happened, in the sense that the next day Dikshidhar went to the Ganga river for bathing, and there the Dikshidhar, when he went to bathe, the yogi told him, go down 3 steps in the Ganga and tell me what takes place. So Dikshidhar went into the Ganges, and when he went into the water, to his great amazement, he saw that a veena with the sacred name Rama inscribed on it drifted into his arms. So this is the prasada of Ganga Devi. This is what the yogi said, that this is the prasada of Ganga Devi. May you grow to become one of the greatest Vainikas and Vagekara. And obviously his words have come true, in the sense that Dikshidhar did become one of the greatest Vainikas, and his Vainika style has also been so well reflected in each of his compositions in multifarious ways, I would say. And after this, what happened was that after giving this beautiful kind of blessing to Dikshidhar, the yogi attained Siddhi. And after this, Muthuswami Dikshidhar performed his final rites for his guru, the yogi, there. And the samadhi of this Chidambaranatha yogi is still there in the Hanuman Ghat at this Kashi or Varanasi. And after this, we see that Dikshidhar then proceeded towards Manali. So this is actually a beautiful incident which really shows us how God or the divine power has got its own ways of, showing the path for all these great Vagekaras. So in the case of Dikshidhar, we see that this Chidambaranatha yogi was instrumental in terms of tuning his mind as to how to look into the deeper layers of music, how to make the Sahitya also reflect the various aspects of our spiritual aspects of our culture and other things, religion, and so many things you are able to see. As I said, the Tantra, Mantra, Yantra, and so many other aspects of our Vedas, everything has been beautifully, put as part of the Sahitya. So again here, we must understand that certain things happen in the lives of great Vagekaras which really influence them in terms of becoming one of the greatest Vagekaras, and these are all because of the divine kind of blessings that happens to them. Their compositions also stand unique and unparalleled.
CM 365, all about Carnatic music.